Talk to us a little bit about how you built relationships with students that might not have been, where they wouldn't have been face to face with you all the time.
With summer school, what I did to build relationships with students was I made a concentrated effort to spend a little bit of time in the beginning of the meetings and even throughout the meetings, just trying to get to know them. It was very difficult because a lot of them wouldn't have their faces on there or they were doing other things. So I had to make a point of calling them out by name, which, just kind of helped keep them focused. And then they knew after a couple days, they knew that they needed to kind of be paying attention because they didn't know when I was going to call their name. So I would make a point to ask each student questions, whether it be about the content or just about things in general, about what did they do over the weekend or what were their plans for this, that afternoon. So I made a point of really trying to connect with them and use their names, which I feel like really helped make a more personal connection during our Zoom meetings. The other thing that I did was I wanted to use the Zoom to help track attendance for summer school because every Zoom session I had different kids logging in. So I started giving them like little random questions that they would type in their answers for attendance. And I tried to make them just kind of fun and more on topic for things that they're interested in. For example, one of them was they had to tell me if they were team iPhone or team Android. I had them choose between two popular singers, one check-in. I had them tell me their favorite flavor of ice cream. I did try to leave some open-ended, but I tried to give them some sort of little just piece of personal information that I could use to kind of get to know them. It made it really interesting to see what people would pick in the Zoom chat, and then it also made it easy for me to go back and check who was actually online and who was participating. I also used the Zoom chat to get to know them. For example, one day we were doing professions. And so as we were going through the professions, I just stopped and asked them, okay, well, what do you want to be when you get done with school? And they all had to answer in the Zoom chat, like, what did they want to be? And so that enabled me to figure out that some of my students were athletes and they are already on like the school basketball team. And so they wanted to be a professional basketball player, or they wanted to be a doctor, or they weren't sure what they wanted to do, but it just gave me another little piece of information about them that I wouldn't have known. So, for example, one of them that wanted to be an athlete, when he was really struggling with getting his work done every day, I was able to relate the schoolwork throughout the day just like a hard practice or a tough game. You wouldn't just quit in the middle of practice or quit in the middle of a game. You just have to push through it. So that kind of those little pieces of information gave me some extra tools to help build those relationships and make things applicable to them as a person instead of just this virtual world.
Was there ever a time at the beginning where things finally clicked, or was there a couple of days? Did it take a couple of days to get students acclimated, or did students jump right in and everyone was working?
I think it's very similar to in class. There were students who immediately were able to jump in and follow along and do what was asked. And then there were those kids that were kind of in the middle that needed a little bit of extra help, a little bit of extra encouragement, a lot of extra direction on what to do. And then there were those kids that just really, really, really struggled. Whether it be they had outside commitments they didn't realize would interfere with the school schedule, or they just weren't really self-motivated. That was another big thing a lot of my students talked about at the end of the year survey. But it was very similar to being in the classroom, right? In the classroom, because we have mixed levels all in one, like Spanish 1 class, you have GT kids down to kids that have, real learning issues. It was a really similar situation. So those kids that were able to take it and run with it, they did great. And they really didn't have that many problems. But there was that big bulk in the middle that needed a lot of help. And then there was those few that you really had to hold their hand and walk them through the process every day of what to do and what not to do. So I would say after the first 4 or 5 days, probably after that first week, it was really kind of easy to sift them out into kind of